As some of you know, I grew up on a Mormon polygamous compound, and I'm the nephew of the sister wives. Specifically, I'm Kody's nephew. So Kody's older brother, Scott, is my dad. And while Kody went off with his family into the glitzy world of TLC to show the world how great polygamy was, my dad stayed on the compound and tried to live the best version of polygamy he possibly could. And it wasn't great. So I'm basically from the part of the family that TLC didn't want to show you because of all the labor trafficking.
Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Friday, June 21st, 2024. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Okay, so I was over on TikTok. I have a TikTok. It's not super big. I just started using it because of the series I was involved in, Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult. And TikTok has a huge interest in that story. And so I created a TikTok, but when I was there, I realized there's like this whole world of sister wives like fandom over there. And I was over on Benjamin Brown's TikTok. He is Kody Brown's nephew. And Benjamin Brown is out of the cult, and he is like completely polar opposite of the rest of the family. So he's Scott Brown's son. Scott is Kody's older brother, and Scott is the one that continues to be in the Apostolic United Brethren. He's the one that owns the compound or is on the compound in Wyoming. He has a bakery that he owns, and Ben has talked a lot about how as a child he was labor trafficked in the bakery, basically had to work like 12, 16 hours a day in this bakery, didn't get the right kind of education, was taken out of school to do this, had a lot of accidents, got injured, and his dad didn't pay him. And he has been, sometimes he'll talk about sister wives and sort of like bring up information, or he'll share a little bit of tidbits, and he's getting ready for the new season, which I've heard is coming out at the end of August or early September. And with that being said, he was letting people know that like, this is what's happening. I'm going to do some recaps here. What do y'all want to know? And he was talking about how back in, when the show went live, in 2010, TLC left out a lot of the truth about polygamy. Like, they didn't talk about the extreme poverty that was happening at the Wyoming compound where Kody and the family lived before they moved to Utah. Or, well, they actually didn't live there, but they lived there for a period of time. Or the labor trafficking that was happening at that property, or the labor trafficking that was happening in the AUB, or really acknowledging the poverty that a lot of the people within the AUB live in, the way that women are treated very poorly, and how the children are treated like just a number, and workers or girls become wives. So he has a lot of times shied away from being super critical of Kody, but I noticed that even he has been a little bit more critical of Kody now. So I showed you a beginning clip of what he was talking about how TLC kind of hid it from viewers. And then this is also what he said.
Anyway, I just learned that the new season of Sister Wives is going to be dropping in August, which is about 90 days away. And so I decided that I'm going to watch the show. I've never watched The Sister Wives. I watched like one episode like 10 years ago, and that was it. So I really don't know what has happened in that world. I don't know how it's been portrayed. I don't really know anything about the show. And so I'm going to watch it.
Ben's position that he didn't watch the show and he doesn't really know how everything was portrayed doesn't compute. I mean, I think he knows a little bit of how it's portrayed. I think, as far as I understand, and this is just, he sounds a lot like other people from the group that I know that were not in favor of the way that the show portrayed polygamy. But a lot of people that were either like on the fringe of leaving or had left really weren't interested in the way that it was being portrayed on Sister Wives, because obviously, if you know it's going to be a reality show, you know that the production company is going to be working with the family. And he might not know the whole premise, but he obviously knows enough to know that it was likely going to be propaganda and not show everything. Because obviously, he said, you never saw us because of the labor trafficking, the side of polygamy they didn't want you to see. So a lot of people from that world that are out of it refuse to endorse it or support it because they felt like it was a fraudulent version of what polygamy actually is. And now it sounds like, given everything that's happened in the family and all of this falling out, and obviously I'm sure in a way that he probably gets decent views on his platform, which in one breath I think is like, if you're going to be a content creator, do it, right? In the same breath, I think he offers a unique perspective because he's Kody's nephew. Obviously, he doesn't like live with Kody all the time, but they did live on the same property as him for a long time. And so he was around Kody a lot in the very early years. So he could speak to, some of the issues the family had way back in the day. He's going to be reviewing it. And then he uploaded a second video where he's talking about watching the very first episode, and he took a ton of notes, but he basically called it for what it is. And I'll show you a few things of what he said.
This shit is gonna be wild. Oh my God. The prophetic moments where different people just say the thing knowing where it all goes. This whole episode is basically a man saying to 4 wives or to 3 wives who have like 12 children to care for. He's like, hey, would you guys mind? Would you guys mind if I, like, once a week, I just drove for 4 hours in my sporty sports car to go hit on this hot young thing in St. George? Which, because it's a polygamist, hot young thing is a single mom of 3 or 4. Oh, man. Oh, this whole show is just basically going to be about a polygamist man trying to integrate his mistress into his family. Oh, there's going to be so much heartbreak. Oh, it's going to be wild, y'all.
The thing about Sister Wives was the very first episode that he is talking about is when he's introducing all of the women, right? He's introducing them all. And he's saying, like, this is my wife, Mary. This is my wife, Janelle. This is my wife, Christine. And you're meeting each one of them. And at the end of the episode, you hear that he is courting this new woman who happens to be a single mom that has 3 wives. And he is talking about wanting to get engaged to her and have her move to Lehigh from St. George. And some of the wives talking about how some women come into families, and Christine says in that episode that if you come into the family for the man and not the family, it doesn't end up working. And so he's talking about these moments that are like foreshadowing what's about to happen. So like people saw the writing on the wall in the very beginning, and they might not have seen it on the wall, right? But I think they were having like a gut check that something was going to happen here because he hadn't taken a new wife in like 16 years, right? And suddenly he's like all gung-ho for this woman that has 3 kids. He's spending his tax return that he could have spent on his other children on Robyn. He's spending all of their extra income to move Robyn into a family. Meanwhile, he has a wife, Christine, that's just declared bankruptcy. And he's basically telling all of the women that they just need to like shove it down, suck it up, and like be happy about it, right? Like you just have to deal with it. And that's the same message that the kids got. And so he says the whole series is going to be about this premise of forcing a mistress like into a family, forcing the family to accept his mistress. And that's exactly what Kody did. And that's exactly what this series was about. Kody found a younger woman that to him was the epitome of what his success looked like. That's what he said on a recent podcast. You don't have to believe that she's not a supermodel, but that's what Kody says, right? Kody calls her his diesel jeans model. And he viewed her as like the trophy of what his life was. And the women called her the trophy wife. And she's the new thing, the new young thing. And then the women that were already in the family that had all of these kids to raise and had all of these things going on in their lives were neglected and then gaslit by Kody and basically made to feel like the feelings that they had were not valid, or the feelings that they were feeling were just them being selfish, right? Like when Christine wanted to have more of a relationship with Kody because she said that he was spread too thin, she was made to believe that she was being entitled. She wasn't thinking about his big picture. But really the truth was, is Kody, he left his family when he met Robyn. It wasn't like, I don't think it was a situation where he tried for a while to integrate. I don't think he even really pretended in their real life, right? I don't think when the cameras were off, he was even pretending like he cared. Because I'll never forget, and I've told this story many a times, but if you're new here, Kody has a friend, and his friend was married to this woman, and he and this friend and this woman were at breakfast with Kody. And at this point in time, Sister Wives literally was like a brand new series. They weren't super famous yet. And Kody and Robyn had just gotten married. And Kody is very much on the show, says that he doesn't want to talk about sex, never talks about the sex life that he has. They all say that they're so uncomfortable because it's not about sex. And he's sitting at lunch or breakfast or whatever it was with his friends, and all he's doing is saying that he cannot get enough of having sex with Robyn. He says it's the best sex he's ever had in his life. He says he's like an addict to the sex. Like he wants it all the time. He just wants to be with her. He's never been with a woman that does what she does. It's the best thing ever. And he wants it constantly, and he throws his head back, and he's very vulgar describing what he's doing with her, according to the friend. Okay. And then obviously, that when they get to Las Vegas, right, that same friend says, well, once they get to Vegas, I also hear from the family and from people on the inside that Kody's over at Robyn's like all the time, and they're in his bedroom. They're locked in the master bedroom all day. And Aurora tells her cousin that mom and dad are always in the bedroom. The door is locked. We can never go over there. And they have a nanny, but sometimes when they don't have a nanny, it falls on Aurora to take care of Solomon, who is a baby at this point, and her other siblings. And they don't get to spend a lot of time with Kody, even when he's there, because mom's in the bedroom with Kody constantly. And I'm assuming that if you were to look at their relationship today, it's probably not like that. Like once you're together for 12 or how many years it's been, 13 years, they're probably not locking themselves in a bedroom all day, every day, because the newness of the relationship is worn off. The newness of the sex is worn off. And that adrenaline and that high he was having was worn off. But he very much was chasing that sex and that feeling with her, that he was willing to give up everything. And so when the women on the show are like, he was never around, he would only show up at the end of the day, and then he would leave really early in the morning, that's because he had to go over to Robyn's constantly because he wanted to have sex with her, allegedly. And people get really annoyed when I bring this up in the story, because you're like, I don't need to know what's going on in their bedroom. But it's like, that's what's happening in this world. Like, the men are chasing sex. And for Kody, it was about sex. And he might have found a woman in Robyn that was willing to give him sex, because Robyn's mom taught her that the way to get what she needed and wanted in a relationship was through sex. And Robyn's father also believed that a woman doesn't get to say no and should always be available to having sex. And her father, according to someone that I spoke to that was from Montana, her biological father, had this weird belief that you weren't even supposed to enjoy sex. And so a woman was supposed to just not like things. And that meant that it would set up the woman to accept behavior from the man that wasn't healthy. So Robyn grew up believing she had to do these things, and Kody liked whatever Robyn was giving him. And that's really what Ben is saying, is like, he's forcing everyone to accept this woman into his life, and there's going to be so much heartbreak along the way. And Kody didn't have to give up anything. Like, in Kody's eyes, I don't think the kids were ever really something that he loved. I don't think Kody ever viewed his kids other than a number that made him look like he had a big family. Like, men in polygamy don't frequently value the children for being kids. They look at them as like, you're just one of my numbers for my kingdom, right? The kids are like disposable. And it's not uncommon in polygamy for kids to die and families to just act like nothing happened because kids die so often because of home birth, because of lack of medical care, for whatever reason. And I'm not referencing like Garrison in this. I'm just saying that like kids' value in this culture is not like it is out here. And kids are raising kids. And his wives are heartbroken for years and years and years and years. And then he and Robyn are gaslighting everyone and saying that, like, we're not doing everything that you say we're doing. And even to this day are saying that this didn't happen. Ben has always been super guarded about, like, not crossing a line with Kody because Ben is followed by Kody. So Kody pays attention to what Ben is doing. Ben, just to give you an understanding, and I'm not trying to be political, but Ben has moved all the way from the fundamentalist, very extreme religious belief system to being completely like being a basic like bleeding heart liberal. He is so far removed from how he grew up at this point in his life that he always maintained this like place with Kody where he was still trying to respect Kody, and Kody's like, you know, because with these extremists, it's not just like a political thing. Like to them, it's like their whole belief system is ingrained and enmeshed in it, and they want everything to be what they want. And so if you deviate from that, you can get shunned by them. So Ben would be completely disregarded by them. But he's always had this like air of respect to not be rude about Kody. And so now you hear him like laughing about how ridiculous it sounds. Like this man has 12 kids, 3 wives. He's got a sporty sport car when he's got 12 kids and 3 wives, and he's going to bring his mistress into the mix. What could go wrong? It's easy to look back in time and see like hindsight was 2020, but at the end of the day, that's what happened. And even his nephew is calling it out for what it is, that Kody forced a mistress into the family, and that's why the family blew up. Make sure to leave a comment about what your thoughts are on the video. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Bye guys.